migrating from one languages to another, right? So if you've written a code in Ruby on Rails, so now you can migrate it to Java, right? So easily, right? So translating from one programming language to another. It does, but again, there will be some manual intervention is required to fine tune that.
Hello and welcome to the AI Master Group podcast, featuring the people who are building the future of AI in their work today. I'm your host, Jim Griffin. Today, I have the great pleasure to have as my guest Ivan Pinto, who is the Associate VP of Delivery at Robosoft Technologies. He's been there 3 years now, and I'll have to ask you, Ivan, later to remind me how many people report to you, but I know it's a very large organization. And then prior to that, I know you were at Accenture and many other impressive logos. I think you've got 25 years of experience, something like that. And I know you've done project management, program management, practice lead, and I know you've got also a degree in engineering with a focus on computer science. Ivan, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. So thank you very much for having me on this podcast.
Yes, it's a great pleasure. And of course, as I just mentioned, you've got a very impressive profile leading application delivery at Nokia and as the AVP of delivery currently at Robosoft. So, question for you. Are there any things that stand out as big lessons learned over the course of your career?
Yeah, the biggest lesson what I learned in this 25 years of journey is, Jim, we cannot settle with one technology, right? So we have to keep upgrading ourselves, right? We have to keep learning new things because the technology is changing every day, right? So what is relevant today, it may not be relevant tomorrow, right? So the biggest learning what I've uh, understood is you have to keep upgrading yourself, keep learning, keep yourself up to date, and ensure your team is also up to date on the new technologies, right? So that's the biggest learning I would say, Jim.
Okay. I know in your current role, you've got a number of things that you're working on, different kinds of applications, different kinds of market segments. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And maybe we can fold in some of those new technologies that you just mentioned.
Yeah. Currently, I'm handling complete US geography projects where have around 300 plus developers and testers working along with me. Right. So I kind of focus mainly on application development in terms of web development, or it could be mobile or TV platforms. Right. So predominantly focusing on media and entertainment industry where we build some OTT apps, streaming apps, which are across multiple platforms, right? So whether you call it Android, iOS devices, or TV, Roku TV, Samsung, LG, right? So I think these are the upcoming platforms which are very prevalent in the industry right now, and I'm very much focused on those right now.
Uh-huh. It's a very interesting specialty, and there's a lot that can go wrong in that industry when you're trying to stream video and so forth on various devices. So it's a very interesting specialty.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
So, of course, Gen AI has emerged quite recently as a possible way to accelerate work and also to improve the developer's work experience. So, naturally, you can expect, I would ask you, have you been doing any experimentation with tools for doing those sorts of things?
Yes, yes, of course, James. So over the years, what is happening is we are trying to cut down on time, right? So development time across various build phases, right? So by introducing DevOps, CI/CD pipeline, or test automation, right? So and what actually we couldn't do it in the past is how do we code fast, right? So how do we code smart, right? So that is completely left to the developers, right? So now we have got something on AI programming buddies, right? So there are some smart AI powered programming assistants in the market which actually help developers write the code faster, right? So and and that's the area um, me and my team have started almost 1 year back, and we gone through some certain tools in the market, and we found excellent results, amazing, right? So we could actually save maybe 40 to 50% of our time writing this code, right? So that actually that will give you a lot of benefit in terms of bringing your product faster to the market, right? I think this is the area actually it's growing rapidly. The when I started 1 year back, it was at one stage, but now if I look at it currently, it's grown tremendously, and we are getting newer and newer capabilities around it.
Yeah, I think it's very valuable because there are a variety of people that listen to this podcast, but not everyone is in your role. And in your role, where you've got 300 plus people reporting up to you, and you're with an outsource service provider. So there is a lot of pressure. If it takes too long, it's too expensive, then you won't win the bid. So everybody else is trying to figure this out too. So you have this pressure. You're really on the leading edge where you have to know. That's why I find it very interesting. So what are some of those tools that you've been testing out so far? And how did you choose those?
Right. So I think we explored some tools called GitHub Copilot. Another is Amazon Code Whisperer, Tab9, Codium. Right. So these are the some of the AI tools in the market. Okay. So the how do we choose that? I think the first thing is like what is your development environment, right? So and that's the first starting point. And what are the languages, programming languages and frameworks you're using currently in your team, right? So based on that, you can actually choose what is the best tool which will actually complement to your development environment and the languages you're working on, right? And that's the way to go about, right? So different tools will more or less give you almost similar benefits, just that the integration and the language support, which is very important, right? And I think that's the way you can actually go about choosing those right tools for you.
Uh-huh. So which ones are sort of out in front for you right now?
Yeah, right now I think what actually for us GitHub Copilot came was, I mean, is actually one of the closest one, right? So we could actually use it for all our Android, iOS development, and also the HTML, CSS, right? So these, I think it gives a great support. And believe me, the first time when we started, that's 1 year back, it had upcoming features. It was not completely ready though, right? So there was something, but now when I see, great, right? So they are given that unit testing support, right? So you can build those unit tests rapidly, right? So and that will save a lot of time, right? So and and the way it gives those options, right? So you write your natural language in your code, and it will build the code for you, right? So just translating those natural language into code. And also the context awareness, right? So it will actually read your whole repository within your organization. It will not go outside your organization boundary, and it will understand what type of coding styles you're using, what kind of knowledge base you have, right? So you might the organization might be writing those code snippets since many years, right? So the copilot will understand those, and based on that it will give you options to while developers start writing. So and this is growing again, Jim. So again, I mean, what I have right now in today, after 1 year, if you ask me, there will be a lot of enhancements, right? So, and it will be I mean, it will try to save more and more time for the developer.
Yeah. Well, granted that it's a moving target, it's ever evolving. It's been evolving up until today, and as you said, it's going to continue evolving tomorrow as well. But given that, well, as we stand here today and you look back, what lessons maybe might you have learned so far from the tests that you've done? Any lessons learned along the way?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think we had a great learning while I mean, using these tools. One thing I would say that whenever you start a new project, so when you're writing codes from scratch, right? So that is where these tools will be useful very much.
You're listening to the AI Master Group podcast.
Whenever you start a new project, so when you're writing codes from scratch, right? So that is where these tools will be useful very much, right? I mean, it will give you the what you call boilerplate code, right? So you can actually write those from scratch very neatly, very quickly, right? So because and what actually it might may not benefit, would say, is like if you have a large code base already, and now you're trying to bug fix some of the things, right? So there are some minor support, right? So you're doing some minor bug fixing. So that kind of scenario, it may not be useful, I see, because the code is already written and you're trying to do some small adjustments here and there. So at that scenarios, this tool may not be useful so much, right? So that's our learning, right? It could change in the future, but that's where actually we saw a lot of benefit while writing the new code, but not when you have already existing code and you're trying to change something.
Interesting. Because all of these vendors want to be helpful in that scenario, but your direct experience is not yet, guys. Keep trying. But so far, the software hasn't been so useful there. Interesting. So you mentioned just now unit testing. And let's talk about that, about unit testing and then full QA. I think it's fair to say that Gen AI has changed the dynamics between these two activities. What has your experience been?
Yes, yes, James. So unit testing is definitely a right. So great benefit for the developer, right? So what happens, right? So developer will write his code, and to write unit tests, so right, unit test cases, right? So he has to spend a lot of extra time to do that, right? So there could be different scenarios. You have to think about that, right? So there's a lot of activity which most of the developer just ignores it sometime, right? So they think that, okay, oh, it's too much time consuming, I don't want to write it. But that will be a disaster as well, right? So if you miss that, then you can end up introducing some bugs, right? So but this programming assistance will do that for you, right? So you write the piece of code. Now you go and try generating the unit test. So it will actually give you all, it will create all the scenarios for you and then write the test cases, and you can easily run those and test, okay, whatever the unit you're developing so is fine, right? So this is a great advantage, and it saves a lot of time, and also uh, gives a better quality for what you're doing, right? So what developer is developing. The other side is on the full QA, right? So what you call integration QA, right? So I think it's related to that, right? So just so there are tools, right? So there are a lot of um, I mean, you can name it as like some test grid, Lambda test. So these are AI powered test automation suites, right? So, and there's a lot of research is going on, and these are there. I mean, these are the tools which are there in the market, and I am also looking into that route right now, how we can actually get into those and then use those for our team.
Yes. So this is interesting because you just said an important point is that you're looking into this right now. And one of the things that I personally find challenging, and I think a lot of people do, is that in our world, the AI world, it seems like we're practically seeing important new product announcements weekly, if not daily. And so, in a role like yours, how do you sort things out to be sure that the tools that you're deploying are up to date, but without chasing squirrels every time there's a new announcement?
Yeah, I think that's a right question, Jim. Right. So I would suggest we shouldn't chase squirrels. Right. So the once you make your decision to have one kind of tool for your team, more or less, so as we keep using it, there will be a lot of research and development is happening on that tool side as well, right? So they are also improving, right? So when our demands are increasing, and the tool side, right, whichever tool, right, it could be GitHub or it could be tab9 or anybody, right? So even they are spending a lot of R&D effort to improve those tools. So I don't suggest to look into, okay, now I'm using this, so should I get into another tool? I don't suggest to do that, right? So you need to wait and watch, and you will definitely see those changes coming in your existing tools as well, right? So I would suggest to keep waiting, I mean keep watching, in case, right? So the only time that, okay, maybe you are looking for some other technologies, okay, maybe you got some new project where a different technology you're started working on, right? And that particular time, maybe this existing tool is not supportive enough. Only those scenarios maybe you can look at some other tool, right? And then try to use that for that particular project. But again, I would suggest, uh, don't run too fast, don't try to chase squirrels, but okay, uh, be patient. So there will be a lot of changes coming in, and you can actually get benefits out of those.
Yeah. So you're talking about these changes that come, and they don't come as a complete surprise, right? You usually get advance notice or announcements that such and such is coming, and then it's in beta, and then it becomes generally available. And so you see this evolution From where you sit in your seat, what, in your opinion, are the areas where you see the most promise, most promising for AI to support your efforts? Crystal ball looking into the future.
Yeah, I think how do we like? I think there are some interesting features, right? So which actually these tools provide is bug fixing, right? So if there is some right, so if there is a error in your code, right, it will try to resolve on its own, right? So without developer doing anything, right? So I think it is going in that direction. Okay, I know it is there right now, but I don't see that. Okay, it will be uh, like you can rely upon, right? So I think that's where actually a little bit of hesitations come in right now, right? Okay, now there will be some suggestions coming in. Now developer will not be 100% sure whether that will work or it might break more, right? So I think that's there is some hesitation in this time right now, but I strongly believe that this gap is going to close very soon, right? So and definitely I think that's the time when actually we can see that you will get great results, right? So or great benefit out of these tools, and definitely I think I mean that will like even there are it has some interesting features like migrating from one languages to another, right? So if you've written a code in Ruby on Rails, so now you can migrate it to Java, right? So easily, right? So translating from one programming language to another. It does, but again, there will be some manual intervention is required to fine tune that, right? But I think these are going to be more relevant in the future, right? So that okay, we can use those like off the shelf, right? So directly, right, without spending too much of developer time on these, right?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I've had that same experience. You've got a bug, and then you just ask it to suggest a solution. Then it doesn't work. Then you ask what's wrong, and it gives another solution. It doesn't work, and you ask what's wrong. It gives another. Come on, man,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
slowing me down.
right, yeah.
So yeah. Well, this has been amazing, Ivan. I'm so lucky to have a chance to meet with you and get your frontline perspective of what's happening in this very important area of AI. If anyone that's listening to the show is interested in getting in touch with you to kind of learn more, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, definitely. Anybody can reach out to me on LinkedIn, right? So my handle is Ivan M Pinto, right? So yeah, anybody can reach out to me. I'm happy to collaborate and share my experience. And then yeah,
Well, Ivan, thank you very much. I learned a lot today, and I know our listeners did too. So thank you, and more power to you.
thank you so much.
You've been listening to the AI Master Group podcast. I'm your host, Jim Griffin. Until next time, stay curious and stay in front.